Hey, how's it going, guys? Got a multi-tool review for you today. What you're looking at here is the Leatherman Wave, or Waves as it is. I actually have two different versions of these. This is the Leatherman Wave, the original version, and this is the newer version. So I'll talk about the original, then I'll follow up with some pictures of it, and then I'll talk about the newer model, and then hopefully those will give you some more information about which version you might want. And by the way, if you like either one, make sure when you're buying it either online or at a retailer that you look at the package carefully, just because to make sure that the feature set matches the model that you want. Anyways, let's get started. I have to thank my dad for this one. He used to be a construction worker, so I was visiting him and asked if I could borrow this. As you can see, there's a holster wear. I kind of like looking through his toolbox and checking out like all the different stuff he has and like the kind of wear he has. Nice leather sheath or holster, as you can see, very well made, form-fitting. Surprised at like how well how little wear it has on it, and just is affixed by a snap. Here we have the tool itself. So I can bring the light in. Hopefully I won't get too much glare right here. Nice smooth outline right here on the original version. You can access 4 different blades, and we'll start with one. Here you have a nice clip point blade made out of 420 HC steel. Decent enough. It's not the best steel in the world. Takes a decent edge, but because it's softer than the more modern like super steels that you'll see on a lot of pocket knives, it'll be easier to sharpen. And this one is razor sharp with a really wicked point. All of these blades are held in with a liner lock design, so you have a little bar that slides into place. To disengage the lock, I would just push it in, and then the lock is disengaged. And if you just look at this bar right here, as I open it, you can see it slide into place to lock the blade over. Like that. Right here, just facing it, if I pull out on this little notch right here, you have a file. So on this side you have a wood or metal file, and on the other side you have a diamond coated file. Flip into the other side, whoops, excuse me, you have a saw, a wood saw, with wicked teeth. And then, right here, you have a serrated blade, which is, I want to say chisel ground, just because if you look on this side it's flat, so it's only ground on one side. And that's it for the exterior. And if you'll look closely, there's screws where you can adjust the tension. Now you can't use a regular torque screw, these are security screws. You see that little dot divot? So unless the screw bit has a little indentation hole for these to fit in, you won't be able to use regular torque screws. I guess that's to keep people from fiddling around with the retention too much. Opening up the tool, you have the pliers with the wire cutter right here in the middle. And then we can access the tools inside. Starting on this end, pull this out. You got your can opener, and right here you got your wire stripper. And let's see if I can pull these out. I always have the hardest time. You got Phillips head screwdriver. Here, got a tiny little lanyard hole. Wish the hole was a little bit bigger, but it's functional enough. And then the last but not least, let's see if I can get to it right here. You have a large flathead screwdriver. Going to the other side, you have 3 more different sizes of screwdriver bits for flathead actually. You got medium, small, and extra small. So between the large, medium, small, and extra small, you should have a flathead screwdriver for most of the common sizes you'll run into. Then last but not least, you have the scissors, which I was wigged out at first. I was like, oh, this folds kind of funny, but actually if you have all the other tools folded in and this open and locked into place, the scissors work just fine. Leatherman has like this thing where like the mouth opens up all the way on the scissors, and I've been used to that, but this older style version, I actually kind of prefer this older style, and I'll show you in a second, but I'm just going to leave this open, and then I'll show you some pictures of this, and then we'll return to the review of the newer model. Alright, we'll talk about the newer model of the Leatherman Wave. As you can see, even the sheath itself is different. It's a nylon sheath, but it's a combination nylon / leather. Wish it was completely nylon just because I prefer all synthetic for sheaths, just because it retains water a little bit less and dries a little bit faster. Held in by a snap, that's good. Better than Velcro. This new sheath that comes with it is pretty cool. I like the fact that it has these little elastic compartments. So you have an elastic compartment here on the side, elastic compartment here on the other side, a little mini pocket here in front, and then it expands like so with this elastic for the main tool. I like that a lot. Just gives you a little bit more option of things to put in the sheath. Let's to the side, and here we have the newer model of the Wave. Just going on the outside, you still have 4 blades just like in the original, and it still uses a liner lock design. So you can see the bar right here. As I open, you can see it sliding into place right there, and you still have the 420 HC steel clip point blade, and still just as sharp. Push in the liner to disengage the lock. We'll go to this side. Same thing, a file. You have the wood and metal file on one side and the diamond coated on the other. To the other side, there you got the serrated blade, and then this is chisel ground, just like the original. So you only see it's flat on one end, and then ground on the other side. Then you got the wood saw. So that's the same. There are some differences though in the newer version. One being is on the side where the saw is, and this is kind of hard for me to do. This still has security screws. The security screws are a larger size than the original version, but it still has that divot, so you need a special torque screw bit in order to adjust the tension. My friend actually tightened this a little bit much, so it's kind of hard for me to pull out the tools. I'm probably going to find him and kind of adjust this for him. But one of the cool differences about the new model is you have 2 options for pocket clips. So here, if I can grab my ruler and try to press this out, hopefully I won't cut myself on the saw blade. Usually it's not this hard. In fact, on my Leatherman Charge it's really easy, but he just really tightened the adjustment on this. Hopefully I won't burn up too much camera time trying to pull this thing out. Use this to pull it out. Here you got a little lanyard loop. I don't want to pull it out any further because it's kind of a pain to push it back in, but you just kind of use like a thin kind of like toothpick thing and you can push it right out. The only reason it's difficult is because he over tightened the screws. But you have that option for mounting, for putting a lanyard hole and hanging your security lanyard around the multi-tool. And then, let's see if I can just push it down here and push it back in. Yep. And then you have a pocket clip. And then you use the same locking bar, which locks in the tools, I'll talk about that in a second, to hang the pocket clip. And to take the pocket clip out, you just push on this bar to disengage. You can just slide the clip right off. There'll be a little space right here. And then if you want to put it back in, just lift up the locking bar, push the clip all the way in, let it go, and now it's secure. Like so. So that's a new way of attaching that you find in the new version. Either the lanyard hole that's integral to the handles, or this little clip that comes with it that you can just attach on the outside. I think the tool is a little bit heavy to just kind of have hanging in your pocket, but if you want it hanging on the pocket of, like, say, a pack or a messenger bag or something like that, that should work fine just as well. Going to the inner part of the tool, you have the pliers with the wire cutter. Going on this side, got the can opener with the wire stripper right there. I don't know if you can see that notch. There we go, right there. And all of the tools on the inside, whereas the original had just kind of just a slip joint design. It doesn't really lock into place. This actually has a locking bar. Works just like a lockback design. So you have this bar, fits into a notch right here. And let's see if I can show you how this locks into place. So look at this bar right here. It goes into that notch like that. Keeps it from closing on you when you're using it. And if you want to unlock it and put it back in, you got to push this tab to lift the bar, and then you can push it back in. All the inner tools are locked into place with a bar. So that's kind of nice. I really like that. Then here you have a bit that can be exchanged. So on this one you got a flathead and a Phillips head. And the cool thing about this is compatible with the Leatherman bit kit, which is sold separately. And here, if you buy it, you can buy a series of bits, different sizes. You got different flathead and Torx and Phillips head bits that you can use. So not sold with the tool, but you can buy this separately. And if you want to do that, you can expand the different tools that you can use. So if I take this out, stick the new bit in, and it just increases the versatility of the multi-tool just by getting this little optional bit kit. It's pretty affordable. Check out my other review. I reviewed this separately. And it comes in a little handy case. But the cool thing about this is if you don't want to use this case, you can just slide this into the extra pocket of the sheath. So that's pretty neat. So you have it all in one nice little package. Going to the other side of the tool, and the neat thing about the new version of the Wave is you have these little finger notches right here that makes it a little bit easier for you to pull out the tool. See how I can pull that out? You got a large flathead screwdriver. You have a small variable bit eyeglass screwdriver. So right here you got one side of flathead. If I just pull it out, it's held in by this little tension bar right here. Just pull this out and flip it over. Put it back in. And on this side you have a little Phillips head screwdriver. And then let me just put these back in. Last but not least, we have the scissors. And most Leatherman tools that are made these days have this new design where it's open, so be careful when you're pulling it out. And then once you pull it all the way out, you just close it like that. Locks into place, which I really do like. That's a nice touch. I love the fact that this locking bar keeps it secure, so I don't worry about it closing on me. But one thing that the original version does have over the newer version is, look at the scissors right here, significantly larger. So I really like the larger scissors on the original version of the Leatherman Wave over the current version. It's a little bit funky getting these out in the first place, but once they're out, as you can see, it's just a lot sturdier looking. I mean, this will still do the job, but this feels a little bit more secure in my hand. So that's one thing I will give over this. But this has a bunch of extra features. I like the locking bar. I like the little notches that make it easier to pull out stuff, the lanyard hole and all that stuff. So this has a few more bells and whistles. I asked my dad if he wanted me to buy him like the new version. He said he was perfectly happy with this one, and I was like, well, this one does more stuff. And my dad was like, well, you know, when you have a tool and you try to get it to do more than one thing, it doesn't really do it very well. He's like the kind of guy that he would have this around, and if he had a job and this would work, it would be fine, but if it didn't, he'd have like a toolbox full of like the right tools readily at hand. So he's perfectly happy with this one. Plus, he's one of those old school dudes who's like kind of cheap, and he doesn't buy a new tool unless he absolutely needs it, or until like the one he has breaks. So he's doesn't need to buy new gear like his son does. So there you go. It's a nice little overview of the Leatherman Wave, both the original and the new version. Go at the store, try them yourself. If you can look at this thing though, if I put them side by side, as you can see, the newer version's a little bit wider and a little bit, just a touch thicker, and it feels a little bit heavier. So I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, I'd say maybe like a ½ an ounce heavier, but as you can see, it's a little bit bulkier. This one, a little bit easier in the hand for me, but I got small hands. If you got large hands, you probably won't even tell the difference. And the new version is a little bit more expensive. If you guys are cool with this, this has all the features you need. You don't need a changeable bit set, and you don't need a pocket clip because you're happy with the sheath. You might want to save some money and get the original version, or even just because you like the form factor and how smooth it is, or lighter, a little bit lighter than this. If you guys want the most bang for your buck, I'd probably get the newer version just because it has more features. The Leatherman Wave is probably the most popular Leatherman out there. It surpasses like the smaller pocket Leathermans like this Juice S2 that I have right here, and it's still smaller than this giant Leatherman Surge, which is one of their larger tools. Look at how big that is by comparison. Big and chunky. So I mean, if you don't want to go big and bulky like this, but you want more features than a little pocket one, you might want to give this a shot. Also, I know a lot of people get the Wave because this is my personal one. They don't want to spend the money on this Leatherman Charge TTI, which is made out of titanium, and it has like S30V steel blade. This will do everything this does. It's just a little bit heavier and not as quite as sexy, but it gets the job done, and at an affordable price. If I was going to get one Leatherman and I wanted to have like the most bang for my buck, I probably would get the Wave. The reason I got this was because I just got like a really good deal on it. If you're really into tools, this is worth every penny. Don't think you're wasting money getting this. But if money's tight, or you just want like the best deal of what you pay and what you get, I'd say the Wave is probably your best bet. So that's my little review of the Leatherman Wave. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.